How are you doing, guys? Luke here of SimBoxx. Welcome along to this week's episode of Let's Talk Boxing. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Jamie. Jamie, how are we doing?
I'm doing good, mate. Ready for another episode, bit of a different one today. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And as Jamie says there, we're onto something a little bit different this week after the cancellation of the Magnificent Seven card in Manchester due to Moses Itauma's injury, something we'll get onto later in the podcast. We scoured the world for a special guest to join us here on the Let's Talk Boxing podcast, and I'm delighted to welcome on the pod Dan Atherton. Dan, how are we doing?
Hi, mate. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So, for the guys and girls that might not know, Dan Atherton is the current number one goalkeeper at FC United, a self-confessed boxing casual fan. So that's why we was eager to get him on and hear his opinions on boxing. But Dan, let's start right at the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about your start in football and where that all began.
It was obviously a long time ago. I started when I was a kid. I was sport mad. I am going to try and reference into boxing a few times this time because it is a boxing podcast. Like you've mentioned, I am a very casual fan. I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed it. My dad was very into martial arts when he was a kid. Basically, when we were younger, we were always on the pads in the living room. We used to do pad work with him. He used to basically just teaching us how to kick the shit out of people. I can't swear on this one, can I?
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it was just always stuff like that. Boxing wise, but then it gradually went into all sports. I'm talking when I was 2, I'm kicking a ball around. We're with our own boxing gloves. We're playing tennis, badminton, whacking balls around the house. It was always that. And then I started obviously playing football, and that was something that I really fell in love with. And I just started doing it every day. So then obviously I went in net when I was an outfield. I went in net when I was 10 and 9 at a tournament with my Saturday team at the start. And I was having a scout watching me. So they decided to keep him in net. I still think it was good outfield. But they just said.
Absolutely, but we can draw parallels there between the fact that you went into goal, you started off with a bit of pad work that somewhere down the line it had to involve the hands.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's like you say, they're both very hand-eye coordination sports. Obviously, differences like getting punched in the head to sticking your head where it hurts. It's similar. I'm not getting my head boxed around, but I have got to put my head next to someone's boot sometimes. So there are occasions where I'm probably going to get hit harder by someone's boot in the chin on purpose. Granted, it's not going to be over 100 times some big 6'4" monster whacking you in the chin. But yeah, I'm not comparing how much painful it is. They're definitely in a lot more pain than me. But like you said, the hand-eye coordination, knowing where to place your fist, coming crosses, punching crosses, knowing put your fist on someone's chin and putting your fist on a ball that's going 70 miles an hour. It's that hand-eye coordination. And like I said, the pad work when I was a kid probably boded well into that because naturally I was always good reaction side of goalkeeping. It was all the, again, footwork, quick feet. I was quick feet. It's transitioning into moving them in the correct way as a goalkeeper because obviously I'm not going to move the same as a boxer, but there are parallels. I think there's parallels in every sport.
Yeah,
but yeah, it definitely helped me out massively.
Absolutely. We'll rewind a little bit before we go forward, but talk to me a little bit about your dad and his background in the sport and what that instilled in you as a kid. Like you say, you was brought up to defend yourself and that discipline as well you carried on into your career as a footballer.
Yeah, I think the way I worded it, the way you just worded it then, it made me think like when you said you've been brought to defend yourself. Yeah, I have. I've never been a fighter. Like if something was kicking off, I'd never step back away from someone. But I would always. I think I also had the side of my mum of the calmness and being able to calm. It's only actually in sport. I'm a loose cannon in sport. Like if someone comes back at me, you've seen it with Rudy Masambo a couple of weeks ago. Outside of football, I'm very much like tone it down, stop the situation from boiling over. But then when you're in that moment, I'm passionate. If Rudy had took a swing at me, I'd have took a swing at him. And I said in the changing rooms after it, he'd batter me. 9 times out of 10, he'd batter me. I said, but the difference is he'd have to batter me 7 times because I'd just get up and go again. So yeah, we did have that with my dad where it was instilling how to defend yourself. It wasn't just boxing, it was very majoritively boxing because that's what he was originally brought up doing. But we also had a real interest in just different forms of martial arts. I can't remember the names of some of them. There's that martial art where you don't actually hurt and you twist the body and an arm into So if you throw a punch at me, I don't actually punch you, but you end up in a pile on the floor because of a pressure point and twisting stuff up. He used to teach us a lot of that. Yeah, he used to teach us a lot of that. I'm not saying my dad's a fucking ninja, by the way. He's 5 foot, he won't mind me saying, he's about 5'8", packed on a few too many pounds. But I reckon he's probably the only person on the planet that I'm genuinely scared of, because I know he'd batter me, because he spent years not hurting me, by the way, never abused me. But it would be, right, go on then, Dan, see if you can punch me. And I'd go for him. I was a kid, I'm a baby. I'd be going for him. And I'd never land one because he'd just grab my arm, not hurt me at all, but then just lie on the floor and go, haha. And he'd just teach me all stuff like that. But yeah, he's obviously, I've spoken to him when I was younger about his fighting and stuff like that. He didn't have many, I don't think he had many actual fights, whether they were amateur or not, but he did enjoy the training and the technique of it. And he did it for years, to the point where he ended up, I think he eventually took to kickboxing more than anything, to be fair. But he ended up coaching a lot of kickboxing and things like that. He's a rugby player. People that don't know, I'm from St Helens, Haydock. It's a rugby town. So basically big brainless blokes that just like smashing into people. So there are a lot of fights in town centre and stuff. But as you can probably see, I've not grown to be 6'4" and built like a brick shithouse. So I had to get good at a softer sport.
So, like you say there, like you from St Helens, Haydock, kind of Liverpool kind of way. Me and Jamie could sit here and have an entire podcast looking at the history of Liverpool boxing and some of the fighters that have come around there. But in the more recent years, you've had like the Smith brothers, Jazza Dickens and whatnot. Anyone that I've missed out there, Jamie? Jazza Dickens, the Smith brothers. Who else come from Liverpool recently? Derry Matthews, Nick Ball.
Nick Ball, yeah.
Yeah. So, what was your early memories, Danny, of boxing? What was your first introduction to the sport as a fan, like you say?
Earliest memories. Do you know what? This is what I mean when I was like. Obviously, we spoke about it before. It's been quite last minute, me coming on and doing this. I'm really shit memory wise, anyway. But I do always remember. I remember watching like. I really hope I'm not going to mess up here, because I don't know when he last fought. But I remember whether it was live or my dad watching old replays of boxing fights. I remember watching Ricky Hatton fights when I was younger, like when I'm a young kid. I can't remember, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. I can't remember the last time he had a fight. But I was born in 1999. I don't know if he's fought in he has he?
Yeah,
thank God for that, because I'm just...
Yeah. But 2012, he had the last fight, and then he had a bit of a comeback fight.
Yeah, there you go. So there was, there is. I remember him fighting. Like I said, I don't remember it vividly, but I remember sitting watching it. I remember Martin Murray, obviously being from St Helens.
Yeah.
I've met Martin a few times. He opened up a clean food place around my mind. Great guy. I ended up following him on Instagram for a bit, and I spoke to him a few times when I met him, and he was just a really down to earth bloke. Look, I really liked him. He's now the coach of a mate of mine I grew up with. He's I think he's just turned pro. I've still not actually managed to get down and watch him live yet, but he's got a fight coming up. Adam Carberry's name is. I've seen clips of him, and I do speak to him whenever I see him, because he's from Haydock, but quick. Still reckon I could fill him in. Don't tell him that. But yeah, quick. And he's now, he works
flipping that straight away.
Yeah, he works closely with Martin now. And there's a few people, like you say, like Nick Ball, obviously. There's another lad that I know, James Francis. I'm in a group chat with him. I haven't seen him for years, but I know he's still at it. He's from Liverpool. I know he had a good spell, whether he's fell off now or whether he's doing well.
He had a fight in December. He lost for the Central Area title, James Francis. Against, Brian Phillips. Brian Phillips is a great guy. I've had him on the channel a couple of times. That was a good dust up. Jamie, Martin Murray's a name that'd be familiar to us. He obviously went back and forth with Gennady Golovkin, Pete Gennady Golovkin, didn't he? And that was someone.
Yeah, he was a good fighter, Martin Murray, and I believe he's doing really good things as a coach as well. So it's good to hear that somebody who is training under him. And do you know what I was thinking as well? Like, with you being obviously a goalkeeper and hand-eye coordination, do you ever do any like boxing training now to? Would it improve your game in any potential aspect?
It would, and you know what? Like I have thought before about doing it more often, but obviously I have like a really busy schedule, so I'll have these thoughts where I am always trying to think of what I can do to benefit myself. My cardio at the minute is the worst it's been, and I'm normally very fit. But when I was doing boxing, and when I even I did go back to training boxing years ago. I was still at Liverpool at the time. I went back doing, it's Low House. I don't know if you've probably not heard of it. It's a really small boxing club near mine. I think it might be where Martin started originally. It's like a real old school, old fashioned boxing gym. I went a couple of times when I was a kid. Yeah, it was stunk of sweat. Equipment was shite. And you just got some slightly old bloke, like late 50s, early 60s, in a fucking vest top that's got too much weight on, telling you to do loads of mad shit. And it was so hard. But I loved it. I always loved working hard as a kid, and that done wonders for my what's it called? All of my fitness side of things. And it is something that I want to go back to doing. I have had spells that I've got a good mate of mine. I think I mentioned him to. Oh no, I don't think I mentioned him actually when we were organising this. His name's Harry Winard. He'll probably listen to this because he is boxing mad. I was actually in the back of my mind thinking, so I'll just ask him to come down and he can fucking sit and talk because he's nuts with boxing. He's just been posting on Instagram. He's up in Scotland at the minute. He got his pro card, and he obviously, Harry's been through a lot of different things in his life, and he ended up getting a bad injury to his head. So he's got scars on his head, and I think he fought one fight, and then basically the scans came out, and they basically took. I don't know how it worked. I think they just took his pro thing off him.
Yeah, if you have an abnormality on your brain, they automatically revoke your license. Fight.
Yeah, so they've revoked it. They revoked it. I can't remember if he got the fight done or it was just before something came up, because it wasn't major. Because actually, since then, I think he's appealed it, or I don't know what the thing is. He's appealed it. He's had it rechecked. He's done a lot more work medically with it, and they've actually just accepted that he's all right and he can fight. So I don't know if I think he's got to go through something now to get his pro license back. But last time I spoke to him, because I do speak to him quite regular-ish. We go up for walks in the Lake District at times, and sometimes we'll go to a gym. And I've jumped on the pad for him recently. I've lost all ability to do that shit. It's so hard and it fucking hurts your elbows. But I would like to get good at doing it again, and then he'll hold the pads for me. We've done little bits and pieces on the bag. But just go back to your question, I think I should start doing it more often. I still skip. That's something I kept from me dad. I don't do it as often as I should, but my dad started getting us skipping in the back garden, footwork, boxing style, not like your fucking step up film ones. So it's just like dancing and that, like genuinely boxing, skipping, different types, different rope tricks and things. And I've always been good at that. And I think it was at Bradford. I have spells where I do it really regularly, and then spells where I've not done it for ages. And at the minute, I've not done it for a long time. But I think I've spoke a little bit before to Thingy. I was a training goalkeeper at Bradford, and a coach came in who brought skipping in. So we started doing that more regular, and that led to me doing it more outside of football again. And I'm actually in the gym now, I'm training in a minute, and now we've had this conversation. The chances of me, because I don't speak about it, you don't think about it. Now I've mentioned it, I will probably do some skipping in my training now. I'm not saying I jump on the bag, because I'm at quite a posh gym and I'd look like a twat. So I'll probably go in the garage, because we've got punching bags in the garage and everything still, like all the gloves, but like we've got everything I could possibly need to take boxing and start doing it properly. Not fighting, I won't do that because I'd end up dazed more than I already am on the football pitch. I don't need anyone punching me. I'm 26 now. I think as I get into these later years of my career at football, my brain's probably going to start deteriorating anyway. And I think you can testify to them that I've not got many brain cells as it is. So I'll stay away from the ring at the minute, I think.
Brilliant stuff. Dan, just to veer away on a bit of a tangent, but talk to us about this ball league. I'm going to be honest, like you describe yourself as a casual boxing fan. I'm a complete novice when it comes to this ball league. I'm intrigued by it. I see it on social media. Talk to me about it.
Do you know what? I did I don't know if you saw the interview that I did. I did a full, it was like a smaller version of when Sky Sports follow a Premier League footballer back to the home ground, and they've got murals. Like we've got a mural in Haydock of Conor Cody, and then the murals in Liverpool. I know a lot of them. I don't know much about Manchester, because the only thing I like about Manchester is FC United and a few bars and restaurants. All right. I don't like Manchester United. I'm not a Manchester City fan. I've got no interest in that. But I did one of them recently for the Baller League specifically, and it went really, really well. It was the first probably real interview or something like this. And I recently did a school visit where I went into an SEN school and did an assembly talking about just waffling shite basically, with a lot less swearing because it was full of kids. But it was the first time I'd spoke at length about it, and they won't mind me saying it because I think I said it on there. I'm a novice when it comes to Baller League, but I've played a full season of it now, so I like to think I know of it. But it only started a year ago in March, And it was an idea of KSI and all the YouTubers. It had already started in Germany. And it was just about having a small-sided football tournament where, let's be honest, even me now, I watch Premier League games and I think I get bored out my head, especially the way Liverpool are playing at the minute and the way we've gone from Jurgen Klopp, who was very much rock and roll football, scoring goals all the time. You had Firmino, Coutinho, Brazilian players, leaving Luis Diaz last year, like flicking it around the corner, beating wingers. We've gone from that to probably playing a lot more, well, not probably, definitely playing so much more boring football. And that's the way the Premier League's gone. And although it means that the level has gone up, and yeah, the standard of football now, if you played any Premier League side against a team from the Premier League in 2004, they'd batter them because they won't be able to cope with it, because they've got two flat banks of players on the edge of the 18-yard box that you cannot break down. Because even if you do a bit of skill and get past one, there's another one coming. So unless you're a player once in a lifetime like Lionel Messi, who can get the ball and take the team on, all 11 players, and then round the keeper and pass it in, it's so hard to break a team down. And like, obviously, you said Manx and you watch Manchester, but I can only come off watching Liverpool because that's the majority. I go to Anfield whenever I get the opportunity. It's hard with football, obviously, because we play quite often. If they kick off at 12:30 on a Saturday, I can't go then because I've got to be at football for 1:15. So if there's a Wednesday game, I'm there. If there's a Sunday game, I'll try and be there. And like I say, you know what it's like. It's hard to get tickets, but I will watch them whenever I possibly can. And the only real player, like one of my favourite players at Liverpool at the minute, is Agit Kabayel. And that is because when he gets the ball, he's one of the few players in the team that looks like he gets it, and all he wants to do is run forward and take a winger up, and he will risk the ball. Now, I know I've gone off on one on Liverpool there, but the relation is that what they wanted from the Baller League was to take all the exciting things from football, which is, let's be honest, it's goals. It's not me. But it is me a little bit sometimes when I'm crowd-turning players on the halfway line and things like that. Like you probably had your heart in your mouth watching me, like, I'll risk it. But it's not your goalkeepers or solid defender. It's when the winger gets it, nutmegs the fullback and whips it into the box and someone nearly scores. You think back to games, the ones that you remember aren't fucking 0-0, 1-0. The 5-4, 5-all, and they wanted to take all the exciting bits of football and put it into a league. And they've done that. And then basically what they've done really well is they've got people involved that are going to appeal to the younger generation. So even now, when I knew I was going to play in this season, I watched the first season back, and even I was watching it going, the fuck's this all about? They've got mad rules. It's like the last 15-minute halves. The last 3 minutes of each half is called a game changer. And that's where they scrap small-sided off and just throw a mad random rule in. Now, it does transition from boxing into this, where we're talking about head injuries. One of the 3 minutes is literally, you'll played it as a kid, it's goalie wars, or I don't know what you called it around yours, it's shooties, what we called it around here. When you play on the small pitches, and it was 1v1 with your mate, and all you're doing is whacking the ball at your other mate and seeing who scores more. Now, you're doing that for 3 minutes on Sky, and there's clips of me when I'm diving around, getting balls volleyed at me, getting it in the nose. And like, we're in a generation now where 10-year-olds aren't allowed to head the football, but I'm getting paid to do it on Sky against people that are kicking it 90 mile an hour. It's like, it's mad. But when you look at it, it's so entertaining to play with. And if you can, I think the biggest issue with the Baller League and football fans maybe of an older generation, even mine, definitely yours and older, where they've grown up watching football, it's a really big reality check to switch and watch Baller League, because you do look at it and go, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm one of them people where it's just, at the moment, it doesn't appeal to me because it's just totally different to what I'm used to. But
exactly.
How did it come about you getting into Baller League? Because that's just a bit like mad out there, you know. Like,
it's nuts. So the thing with Baller League, the hardest thing about Baller League is to get into it, because, like I said, when I said they got the people involved, they got a lot of YouTubers involved. And big names. And like I say, so Angry Ginger's a manager. Don't know how much you know. If you've got kids, you might know of them, depending on their age. There's the Sidemen YouTube group, which is where KSI come from. You've got the Sidemen, and then there's a Beta Squad group. I didn't have a fucking clue who any of them were. My little brother loves them. So when I go down to the media day and I get on with everyone, because I'm very much the same with everyone. I think you can testify to that, being at FC United.
Absolutely.
I'll just call people pricks and just have a laugh with them. And I never mean it. It's just the type of person I am. Like, I'll have the same banter with Luke and you now, Jamie, as I would have with there's a fella called Nico. I didn't have a clue who he was, but he's got 6.5 million followers on Instagram. Countless millions of people know him. Kids love him. His videos are massive, and they're all rich. Like they're all very not. They're the celebrities of these days, like you see with Angry Ginge. Angry Ginge. I've had conversations with Angry Ginge where I'm just the same as I am with Angry Ginge as I am with I don't know, like my mates that I've grown up with. It's just having a laugh, and sometimes, yeah, people of that like sort of celebrity status can look at it and be like, "What the fuck?" Because they're not used to it. Not used to some random kid that doesn't know them or he doesn't know, just having a conversation with them. But to be quite frank, I couldn't give a fuck whether they like me or not anyway. I'm very much the same in terms of that anyway. I've had spells where I do care about what people think, but I'm not that bothered. At the end of the day, if they're going to like me and they want to be my mate and they're sound and I have a conversation with them in a relationship with them sound, if not, it's no skin off my nose.
So is it the idea that it's exposure there for you, Dan? Is
Yeah,
it exposure? Is it a payday? Is it a mixture of both?
Yeah. Sorry, I've gone off a tangent on what Jamie was asking about there, but that in terms of that's what meant a lot of people wanting to be involved in it. So they set up trials where they went round to London, Manchester, and a couple of other places. I think they cancelled one in Newcastle, and they just put it out there because of the people. There was a lot of people interested in it, so a lot of people went to the trials. And then they go through to a draft where they had to go down to London, show off their skills again, or sit there and basically just show off what they can do, and then get picked by each manager. And I got asked to come down to the draft. I got straight through to the draft for the first season. But like I said, I didn't have a clue about it. I was busy with football at that time. We were going through a bad period, a bad spell with Warrington Town. And all I knew was it was on a Monday night and it was in London. And I thought, you know what, I don't really want to do it. I didn't look into it too much. I didn't see the benefit of me doing it. And I didn't ask any questions. So I just left it. And then I knew a few people that play in it because I've used to do TikToks and Instagram reels doing skills and fast feet. So I've always been known, not wildly. I've never been massive on it. I'm not anybody, if you get what I mean. I don't think I am of that level. But people knew of me that were in the league and they'd spoken to managers and stuff in the league and the owners and said that they need to get me involved. And I had a phone call with a coach who, again, I was very blasé about it. I didn't know a lot about it, but I looked into it more. And he said, come down to the trials, go into the draft and we'll pick you straight away. And when he said that, I just sort of went, nah, so I'm not trying for a six-a-side team. Because in my head at the time, it's just six-a-side. I pay a fiver to play that with him, mates. So he rang me and I just said, listen, if you want me to play, I'll play. I'm in. If you don't, it's fine. It's no skin off my nose. And then we started talking a little bit about the money side of things as well, which you can speak to as many players as you want that play at our level or play top-level football. The ones that go, oh, it's not about the money, it's because they've got the fucking money. There is a spell of it. Like I said, I've turned down contracts where I'll be earning more money to play somewhere that I prefer, but it's only because the difference isn't much. If someone rings me now, I love it at FC United, but if someone rings me now and offers me 10 times more money than I'm getting at FC United, I don't care where it is, chances are I'm fucking going. In fact, no, 10 times, I'm definitely going because of that financial benefits. And once I heard...
that kind of relates to, again, we keep pulling parallels with boxing and whatnot, not to cut you off, mate, but that's parallel with boxing because we see it all the time, Jamie, when people talk about title fights and the prestige of certain belts, even at a world level. But then there's also fights where they're not getting made because they're not getting paid right, but the opportunity to win a world title's there, you know what I mean? So there's parallels there that they say it's for the glory and it's not about the money, this, that, and the other. They're the guys that have made the money. And the young hungry fighters coming up, you know, they're the ones chasing the glory.
Yeah, you see it now. So like I say again, I'm a novice. I'm very clueless, but I know that there's different federations that you can box under, and some might not be. I like golf. I'm more clued up with golf, but it's like you've got the Live Tour and the PGA. Now, when the Live Tour starting, they were grabbing young golfers that weren't very well known, and then who were the ones that went over from PGA to Live Golf? The ones that had already smashed it and made a fucking killing. So they've already earned a lot of money. Might not be the richest ones, but then again, the richest ones have already got that. So when you offer them a stupid amount of money, it's like, well, hang on, I've already got it. So I'd rather stay here for the prestige of being a PGA legend. But when you've got people like, who is it that's coming back from the Live to PGA now? He's made a lot of money. He's done it. He's gone to Live. He's made a shitload more money. But now he's got the opportunity where he's made the money to go back to the PGA and have a legacy in the PGA. He's wanting to do that, and he's looking to spend a lot of money to do that. And it's the same in everything. I'm not saying I'm on a lot of money at hand Baller League, I'm not rolling in cash. I can't wait for the next season to start because I can deal with the money. All right. I hope I get a pay rise at FC United. I'm not saying that I earn a lot of money, but it's a nice supplement to what I earn. And it does mean that I need to probably get into more business related stuff to earn more revenue. But what it does for me, it does take a lot of pressure off that side of things in my life, because it basically, in fact, I'll be honest, it more than doubles what I earn at FC. And then, like you said, the exposure from it and the recognition from, like I say, I'm not saying a scout from a League One, League Two side is going to watch it, look at me playing City side, because it is a completely different game. What I was going to say to Jamie then was, even though he's not looked at it and you can't really take to it, if you watch it as a separate sport, you can.
Yeah.
It's the same as me with people have a discussion around women's football and men's football. I'm very much on the side of the standard in the men's football as football is a lot higher. The pace is a lot faster. The technical ability of the average player is a lot higher. The physicality is a lot higher. But I like women's football. I like watching it. I can sit and watch it because I can take myself out of the situation of I don't watch the WSL and compare it to the Premier League, because you can't. That way, you're never gonna get it. But I can watch women's football and look at a player and go, "Fucking hell, she is good. She's a top level women's player." Do you know what I mean? That makes sense.
No, I do. I know what you mean, because funnily enough, like still on the subject of football, I'm a Bury fan, so I've followed them home and away all my life. And when we were a football league team, obviously even the standard of League Two was a lot higher than the North West Counties league. So when we came back, like, I'll be honest, it was a bit of a shock to the system, because it was like, and you know, so someone who had gone to watch the first game before me, they said, "Oh, you're looking forward to it," and they actually said, "Oh, it's not like before. Don't come thinking you're watching Bury football, the football league." And to be for the first half an hour, I was like, "Wow, this is a bit of a shock to the system." It was totally different, the levels, but you know, it has made me have a bit more appreciation, like you said, where you sort of take yourself away from it, and it's come back to boxing as well. It's the parallels of that as well. Everyone watches the live shows that are on Sky, DAZN, and all that, but you've also got your small hall shows that, you know, where some of the best entertainment is, and a lot of people, you know, were sort of missing that by just staying in for the big shows that are on TV.
Yeah, I was just about to say then. So I've been and watched a couple of small shows, and like you say, I'm going to try and keep it boxing whilst comparing to football. Like you say, with your shock to the system, a great example would be if me, you and Luke now went and watched the Premier League game, and we sit there, and there was actually a moment with Joel and Lescott when we were watching a United game on the way back from the Baller League, where when you watch it with your mates, you'll have been there, and Luke will have done it Saturday watching us, where a player will do something and go, "He's shitting." We can watch United and go, "Luke Shaw, he's shitting." What you've got to understand is in relation to who? Luke Shaw, in your opinion, I'm just picking on Luke Shaw because I've looked up and United City's getting highlighted on main event. I don't have much opinion on Luke Shaw. I couldn't really care what he does. Great player, obviously had a great career. But Luke Shaw, in your opinion, might be shit in comparison to other left-backs in that league. Luke Shaw, in comparison to the average football or the football that you watch at Bury and the football that you watch at FC United, is fucking world-class. So you have to take, like you said, going back to boxing, I've watched professional boxing on TV. I've watched a few fights, one or two fights live, one or two MMA fights live, where I could watch boxing at my mate's level. I went to watch Harry Winard, and I'm watching it, I'm looking, thinking, "Nah, he's shitting." And I'm comparing him to other people. If I'm saying he's shit, I've got to have their opinion and go, right, he's shit, but in comparison to him, because he boxed my head off. The fighters that you watch at lower levels would batter me. And I'm in the crowd watching and going, I try not to anymore. I don't really do it. I'll say someone's shit if I'm playing against them. And I have the argument all the time where if people get carried away, I've had conversations at Baller League, I've had conversation with my goalie coach at FC United, because you come up against players and they go, "Oh, he's really good in." I had a really interesting discussion where people were talking about players in our team and players like that we play for and against, and you go, "Oh, he's crap." And I went, "Well, actually, if you think about it, like, we're all crap. Like, if we were good, we wouldn't be at this level." Do you know what I mean? It sounds harsh. I don't mean it. I know I can play football at a good level. But if I'm looking in comparison as football in general, I'm shit. Because my good and I don't know, Jose Sarr for Wolves is good are two completely different things that happen. So I might be this season playing at an 8 out of 10 level for MPL. I'm not saying that I am. I'm just picking a number out the top of my head. I'm having an all right, decent season. We've got a lot of clean sheets. We're high in the league. I'm doing well. I'm having a good year. Last year wasn't so good, but right, because you always have them. But my 8 out of 10 this season in the MPL and a goalkeeper in the Premier League's 4 out of 10 season, if you put him in our league, he'd probably be having a 9 out of 10 season playing at the level he's playing at. And it's the same in boxing. If you take my mate Harry Winard on the fight that I went and watched him, he boxed the guy's head off, he battered him and he won. Stoppage, battered him, and I watched him. And even it was the first time I watched him live, I was like, I always knew he was good, but I went, fucking hell, he's good in there. He'll know and I'll know that him at that, because he's only young, I'm looking at him thinking that's an 8 or 9 out of 10 performance. He puts that performance in against someone at the top level, fighting on box office, on the zone and things like that. He puts that performance in. It's a 2 out of 10 performance. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to watch it from everything. I'm big on everything's about perspective. Yep. So you have to watch it from the perspective of the level of the competition, the level of the fight that they're in, the level of the football match that they're in, compared to where they want to be. And they're very, very different things, but you can always make that comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, just before we let you go, because I know you're busy and I appreciate your time on the pod tonight, just briefly tell us about your season at FC United. As you say, I'm a big fan myself, and it seems that we're having a good season. You know, you're positive that we'll stick around in them playoff positions, maybe even get automatic. Tell us about the season at FC United.
Yeah, I think I'll try and keep it brief because I know, like I said, I knew it was going to happen with waffle shit, and 90% of it wouldn't be about boxing. But no, FC this year, obviously, you came in for me in the summer, and I'd probably pulled me out the shit a little bit. Really, I was going through a difficult period where we'd just come off the back of relegation. I was under the impression that, do you know what, I didn't actually have that bad of a season. And now, when you look at the statistics of it, I'm not a very statistics-driven person, but people will have had the opinion that I had a poor year last year and I didn't perform. But now they're looking at me going, and this is other people saying it to me, they're going, oh, you're having a really good year. Statistically, it's the same, other than the amount of clean sheets I've kept and the goals I've conceded. Statistically, passing-wise, shot to save percentage-wise, coming for crosses-wise, what I'm doing in the game is the same things. But obviously, I'm probably in a better dressing room with players that are in an environment that's better, and I'm more protected this season, and things are going well. Like I say, as a team, you've been there and watched it. I think it's the best start to a season that we've had since early doors FC United, it's a credit to the lads, it's a credit to the staff that we're doing so well at the club. And like I say, again, perspective-wise, for our level, is top notch. Obviously, in comparison to Old Trafford, it's a small club. But as far as non-league is concerned, it's a big club. The budget's not the best in the world, but the feel around the stadium, the fans, you guys that come and watch it every week, I couldn't be anywhere better for the level that I'm at. Obviously, my goal is to play full-time football again, just like FC United's goal is to get into the EFL and be a full-time club. Now, if I can climb the leagues with FC, great, perfect. I'll stay here as long as you want. Someone comes in and offers me at a higher level and you can get some decent money for me and I don't leave he's in the shit, then that's what I'll do. It's football and that's what's going to happen. But as of right now, I love it. I'm really enjoying my football. It's probably the highlight of my life at the minute. Football has always been like the only thing that's sort of an escape for me. And FC has sort of given me that back, where I do go into football now and I might have shit days or things like that. But once I get to the training ground and I'm around the lads that are in the team and the staff that are there and I'm around the building, it picks me up and it makes me feel, I love it. And that's the main thing for me. My main thing is I want to enjoy it. And I would much rather be here enjoying it than playing in League Two, hating football. And the biggest convert I can give to FC at the minute, no matter what's going on in the league. Like I said, we're going through probably our roughest patch of the season at the minute, where we have had a couple of bad results. But what's good is, other than when you're actually on the pitch, where it is frustrating and you are at each other's throats at time and you do get in the dressing room and someone's calling someone a prick and like you're at each other's, there's still a togetherness there. And I still look back and I enjoy the games that there's been one game I've not enjoyed this season. It was Warrington Town away where we got battered. I had a shit game. A lot of the lads probably, it was our only shit 90 minutes. I didn't enjoy that. But even then, I look back and I'm like, again, football, we're going to be shit sometimes. The biggest compliment I can give to the club and the way that football's going at the minute is I love going in and I love doing it. There are times when I'm fucking on the pitch and I go, what's going on here? Heads fell off. I'm having arguments. Things aren't going right. But still, I come away from it. I remember the first time I got beat this season. I can't remember the specific game, but I remember I'm still very close to my old goalie coach at Warrington. I've been close to him when I wasn't at Warrington, when I left initially. And it's a relationship I've always had with him. And I remember having a conversation with him and he asked me how the game was. And I remember talking to him and moaning a little bit about certain players, certain things that happened in the game, certain things that I did that I weren't happy with. But after the conversation, I just said, but you know what? After the game, I was talking to everyone. I still loved it. I really enjoyed it. We got beat and I still enjoyed it. And that's probably the biggest compliment I can give to the club and what I can say about my football at the minute anyway. You might ask someone else and I've seen I fucking hate it at the minute because they're not playing it or they're not doing sort of things aren't going right. But even when things haven't gone right for us this season, nothing's gone terribly wrong apart from Halifax where we got beat 4-1, something like that. Got battered. But we actually put a good performance in. And I still look back and enjoy it. And I think that's it's probably not the most basic generic answer that you were looking for when you said how's the season gone, but that for me is what sticks out at the most. I'm really enjoying it, and like I say, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, to close off, I'm going to put you on a bit of a spot here. Imagine we're doing a charity boxing event at Broadhurst Park. We put a ring in the middle of that centre circle. We pack out the ground. What two guys in that dressing room do you think would have the ability to glove up and get in the ring? Not that they dislike each other, but they'd have the ability to glove up and get in the ring. Give us two.
The ability.
Yeah.
No. So if we're going off ability, I'm not sure because I don't have a clue about people's. We don't go in the change rooms or the gym and throw the gloves on.
Here's one. Then. Which two would give the best performance? Which would be the best two crowd pleasers if they had to duke it out?
See, there's a few. There's a few. Like I said, it's no thing on how I feel about the person. It's just how I know that they act and how they are. Where I just think it'd be really funny to watch them. But I'm not saying that you're going to get a good boxing spectacle. But I don't know who I'd pit against each other. But in terms of watching it, I'm not going to answer it like that because I don't want there to be anything where it's like, is there a bit of something in the dressing room there? I'd love to see Matty Thompson with a pair of gloves on because he's not an angry man, but he's a very aggressive person. So we were warming up for the league, we were waiting to go out for the dressing game, out of the dressing room at Leek. He's so intense, and even on the pitch, we have a laugh and joke because when I make a save or we get a clean sheet at the end, I remember early in the season, Matty's screaming we call him Tomo. He's screaming at me, Dan. And I'm on the back foot thinking, fucking hell, what? And he went, fucking well done. Proper aggressive. So even when he's complimenting, he's just so angry. And then the fact that he's a PT and he looks after himself and he's got the arms and the physical side, I'd love to see him just go at someone because I think he'd be one of them where you'd have to knock him out about 4 times. Another one, it's probably two more I'd like to see. I think Andre does a bit of boxing. I'd like to see him just because he's an absolute unit. Yeah. He's a beast. And I'd like to see him have a do with someone. Another one I'd like to see have a fight with Rudy. He has himself as this big hard man, so I'd just like to see what his ability's like. So might be good, it might surprise as well, but yeah, they're probably the three. To be fair, it'd be funny to see anyone in the dressing room in a boxing ring. Yeah. Should do it, shouldn't we? A little charity night and get everyone to get a pair of boxing gloves up and just do a last man standing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll come for that.
Yeah. I don't, mate. You'll get hurt, you.
Dan, I appreciate your time, mate. I'll let you get back to your evening. Thanks for joining us on the podcast tonight, and I'll see you Saturday.
See you Saturday, mate. Top man. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Much appreciated. Take care, buddy.
See you later, Jenny. Bye-bye.
So, Jamie, that was interesting. Something a bit different. You know, we try and draw parallels where we can there with the boxing and whatnot. Good guy, Dan, and I appreciate him on the channel. But there is a couple of things I want to touch on that we didn't really develop on last week's podcast, and one of them being Agit Kabayel. He had that great win against Damien Niebuhr. Good win, great event. I think
good win.
Rephrase that. And,
terrible referee, good win.
Yeah,
you know my feelings on that.
We're not getting into the officiating. We're not getting into the officiating again.
We'll get into it.
Now, surely Agit Kabayel is more than worthy of a world title shot at the minute. We talk about the different governing bodies, the WBO, WBA, IBF, WBC, and we complain sometimes that in boxing we need one champion, one name, one face, as Deontay Wilder used to say. And we had that in Oleksandr Usyk, and we've seen the politics of the sport mean the belts get fragmented. Oleksandr Usyk vacated the WBO belt. That went to Fabio Wardley. But the flip side of that is having four main recognised world titles means that there's more opportunities for the fighters, because we can see people like Joseph Parker, he slipped down the pecking order given that he lost to Fabio Wardley. He was in line for a world title shot. Agit Kabayel now, he's been treading water. Frank Sanchez, Aslanbek Makhmudov, Damien Niebuhr just gone. Zhilei Zhang, he's beat some top contenders. Zhilei Zhang himself was a WBO interim world title holder. He went twice with Joe Joyce and knocked him out both times. So these four main recognised belts gives everybody an opportunity. Oleksandr Usyk, one face, one name, one champion, and he's not got all four belts now, but he's universally recognised as number one heavyweight. He's looking at fighting Deontay Wilder. Last week we said we didn't mind that. We could understand him almost cherry picking Deontay Wilder, if you like that. He wanted to complete the set of the heavyweights of this era. But that means fighters like Agit Kabayel and previously Joseph Parker are falling by the wayside and wasting prime years without getting the opportunity of fighting the champion. Is Kabayel, or should Kabayel be getting this opportunity ahead of Deontay Wilder, or has Deontay Wilder got enough money in the bank in terms of what he's done for the WBC to be able to skip the line?
Well, we all know what the WBC are like, so I think at the end of the day, if Oleksandr Usyk wants to fight Deontay Wilder, the WBC will certainly make that happen. But like I touched on last week, I don't think that he should just be able to cherry pick like that. He obviously he's earned the right in a way. It's a bit of a weird concept, but I think when you've got Kabayel there, who's rightly so, he should be in line for one of the belts. He should be next in line. Obviously, it was meant to be Parker, but he lost to Wardley, and then the belt was given to Wardley. So then, next in line really should be Kabayel. And if he's going to go and fight Deontay Wilder, there's only really, realistically, they both need a fight now, and I don't see why. And they're both under the same promotional banner. Why him and Wardley can't get it on? Because Wardley needs an opponent. He should, for some reason, he's not mandatory anywhere, is he? Which is wild to think of, considering,
well, he's WBC interim, isn't he? He's WBC interim.
Oh, is he WBC interim?
Yeah. But this is where the interim, sorry to cut you off, this is where the interim gets messy, because if we're looking at the UFC, and they are who they are, but when they have an interim champion, that's because the defending champion isn't available. In boxing, we can have an active defending champion and an active interim champion, an active number one contender. And it's like, well, I thought the idea, obviously, we all know it's all about the percentages, in that when this interim title's on the line, that they'll get their part of the purse and everything else. But that's the dirty part of the sport, and the interim should mean, all right, Usyk, he said
you're next in line, no matter what.
Yeah, and that when the champion is then available again, that should be the first fight to be made above everything else. But sport doesn't have an overriding governing body that really truly enforces these. We've got Mauricio Soleimani coming out saying, Wilder, because he had this long run as the champion and he defended the belt however many times. He had a good run of defenses. Avoided onto Joshua along the way, but we won't go there. We don't have anybody enforcing the rules of, right, your interim champion should fight your champion. There's no need for that interim title. Well, same with the WBA and all those little trinkets you have over there. It doesn't make sense. It's dirty and it's hella frustrating.
You shouldn't really have an interim if you've got a number one contender. Like, the idea is, well, if your interim should be your number one contender. Like, this is an idea of what you potentially could win in your next fight now, and then you've got to get it on. And that's why that's why he should be fighting. Obviously now I've realised it's WBC. He should be fighting over Wilder. And that's why the WBC are pretty annoying, because they don't enforce their own rules. And then they sat there and, they're giving Terence Crawford a load of shit because he's not paying his fees. And then you've got, was it Keyshawn Davis come out and said that he won't fight for the WBC either? Like, because your politics stink. And that's the big problem. You're allowing all this to happen. And, you just made a good point there about Wilder, how many defences he had for the WBC. Well, hang on a minute. What about Kabayel, who's had all these fights and hard fights to build up that ranking to get that WBC interim that you're getting fees for? why? Well, hang on a minute. Where's the loyalty to him? Who's fighting the hard way to get there? And what? And he's won. He's won his last 5. Wilder's lost his last 5. Well, not technically his last 5, but you know what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense to me.
But the thing is with Kabayel, he's doing everything the right way, and you know what? They can't throw at him anymore. Is that he's not a commercial commodity? You know, for Oleksandr Usyk, he's used to these Saudi paydays now. Back-to-back fights with Tyson Fury would have, paid him handsomely. The fight with Daniel Dubois would have paid him very handsomely. But with Kabayel, he's come up the hard way. He's took the fights. He was the away fighter in all 3 of those, I think I'm right in saying, with Zhilei Zhang, Frank Sanchez, and Makhmudov. He was the away fighter, the underdog in all 3. He went in there and he done the job. He's climbed the rankings, as you say. But he sold out that stadium, or that arena, sorry, in Germany in 24, 48 hours against a relative unknown in Damien Niebuhr, with all due respect. You could go over there and get one of these football stadiums and put Agit Kabayel in there. If you're selling out 12,000 tickets in 24 hours, imagine what you do if you had 30 or 40,000 a reasonably sized football stadium with Oleksandr Usyk, because there's going to be a lot of Ukrainians in Germany. So I think that idea now that Kabayel doesn't bring money to the table, I think that's out the window. He's the biggest name in German boxing.
Yeah, of course. I think the aspect of commercial aspects, I think it would absolutely be massive in Germany. I think this is the problem again when it comes to like politics of boxing and viewership. Is I think they're probably looking at it in terms of do massive numbers in Germany, but in terms of people watching it on DAZN, or would the viewership be there? Like obviously, I think all your hardcore would tune in. I don't know, but at the end of the day, there's got to be a point where you go, right, look, it needs to be made regardless of where the money's at, because obviously I'm sure you can skimp somewhere, make the undercard, maybe not put on as big of an undercard or whatever. I'm sure there's ways around, shows that they probably know might not generate as much revenue, but that doesn't mean that these fighters shouldn't get the opportunity to fight. And that's the part of boxing which really fucking grinds my gears. But then what also annoys me about boxing is when they put on some fights that I don't actually think they should be fighting, like they've skipped the queue. They end up turning out to be great fights, and we talk about how great they were. So then, you know what? I don't really win. It's like a love-hate relationship with boxing. It's very frustrating.
The mad thing is that I used the analogy before of Deontay Wilder when he said, one face, one name, one champion. He goes by the name of Deontay Wilder. Imagine if and I'm not even putting it out there, so don't come for me in the comments and on social media, but imagine after the losses in the draw with Tyson Fury, going away, refinding himself, being written off, put on the boxing scrap heap. Imagine somehow if he come back and knocked out Oleksandr Usyk. And
Luke thinks that Wilder's going to be...
No, I don't.
Usyk
wraps him. He absolutely wraps him up, doesn't he? We know he does. He wraps him up in circles, ties him up in knots, and he'll stop him when he decides. More, I think, mentally rather than physically. But I'm just saying, after all this time, he won his world title 11 years ago now, 2015, Deontay Wilder. 11 years ago, he won that green and gold belt. I'm just saying, just imagine how mad it would be. It would be.
Do you know what it'd be like if it would? Because I think you wouldn't see it coming. Do you know what I mean? The only way is going to get like you'll be watching it and you'll be like, oh, he's not going to land. He's not going to touch. He's not going to. And out of nowhere it'll land, and you'll just be watching it going, oh yeah, and then you go, what? That's the one thing that even though he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights, that's the one thing with Deontay Wilder. That even though he's not been on the best, every fight he's been in, I've still been sat there waiting like this one big knockout shot can come, as limited as he is, and I can't see him beating you. I can't see him landing a glove, but the thought and the madness, if he did, and he stopped him, out cold, would just be a proper.
Well, that's exactly why I'm getting it out there now, because we might as well talk about it hypothetically, because in reality, it's not going to happen. Oleksandr Usyk will, like I say, time up in knots.
No, but if it does happen, we can clip it and we can put it out and go, oh, do you remember when we said this?
Absolutely.
Change it.
Absolutely. We'll put the irons in motion for that. So, Kabayel, if he doesn't look like he's getting the Oleksandr Usyk fight next, because for whatever reason, it doesn't even look like it's going to get enforced because the money's going to be with Usyk and Wilder. Do we go Fabio Wardley, Agit Kabayel? There's talk of Fabio Wardley Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois has not even had a comeback fight from the Oleksandr Usyk defeat last July, was it? At Wembley when he was stopped in 5 rounds in the rematch. Does the name Daniel Dubois carry enough weight now that he walks right back into a voluntary title defense for Fabio Wardley? Because I think in a minute Fabio Wardley's just going to maximize his earnings, isn't he? He's got that belt around his waist. He's the man. He's the A side. He's going to take the lion's share of any fight that's not with Oleksandr Usyk. Do we see Fabio Wardley, Agit Kabayel, or do you think business-wise we're looking at Fabio Wardley, Daniel Dubois?
I think it just depends. I think it depends where Wardley's mind's at. If he wants to obviously make the money, the Daniel Dubois fight is the perfect one to make. If it's, I suppose you could say legacy, Daniel Dubois is also the one to choose being a former champion. But to go and beat the undefeated Kabayel that's absolutely outboxing everybody and steamrolling for everyone he's fighting, I think that would be a bigger achievement for him at this stage as a world champion, to go out and beat that. But I think the thing with Wardley is Frank Warren's got a lot of heavyweights in the stable, so he's got, it should be quite easy to make these fights. I think your point about Daniel Dubois, is he a big enough name? Yeah, he is a big enough name to come in and take a title shot. The problem is he probably shouldn't on the back of his defeat, but at the end of the day, the heavyweight landscape's not absolutely full at the moment, with top tier world level tier on world class boxers. And Daniel is in that, he's just around that category at the moment. So in terms of excitement and what both fighters will bring, I think Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois would be a terrific one. And I think it's basically out of them three. Two of them three is going to end up fighting, I think, next.
Yeah, I think you're right in saying that. And I'd never write Fabio Wardley off. I think the only guy that I'd pick convincingly to beat him would be Oleksandr Usyk. But in terms of, say, betting odds, do you think it'd be fair to say that Fabio, the joys of recording live, do you think it'd be fair to say that Oleksandr Usyk obviously would be a favourite against Fabio Wardley, but that Fabio Wardley would also be an underdog in fights with Daniel Dubois and with Agit Kabayel? Either of those two guys, do you think Fabio Wardley starts as a betting underdog?
I think on paper, you would probably put him as an underdog, but I think the way that he is elevated to become a world champion, I think if he was to fight either one of them, I think the bookies will probably put it in his favour. But personally, I would rather them not, because I think the first time I'm going to have to back him in both of them fights, because I've written him off literally in every fight he's had, and he's proved me wrong. So, I'm going to hope that he's the betting underdog and start throwing some money his way.
Absolutely. Talking of heavyweight boxing, we had the disappointment of the postponement of Moses Itauma against Jermaine Franklin. Moses Itauma suffered a bicep injury. We wish him well in his recovery. But there seemed to be an air of frustration across social media. I'm not sure if you picked up it yourself, Jamie, that the show was strong enough to go on. It's a magnificent 7 card. So we've got 7 title fights of different levels. Some good fights on there. Willie Hutchinson, Ezra Taylor, Brad Pauls was on the show as well in a good fight. Nathan Heaney, who sells a bucket load of tickets, in with Jerome Warburton. Zach Miller was on the card. Liam Davis, other fighters. And then in the days after the postponement, we've seen the announcement of a next-gen style show from Queensbury. And headlining that show was Owen Cooper against Constantine Ursu for the British title, I think I'm right in saying, the welterweight British title. Could we not have seen maybe a fight like that that's going to take place on a smaller show, a smaller venue? It's fair to say, less viewership. We could have moved that over, kept the magnificent 7 card. The undercard to Owen Cooper's fight could have become the undercard to Moses Itauma's rearranged fight with Jermaine Franklin in March, and put him down in the O2 or at the Copper Box. He's not a local lad, Moses Itauma, by any stretch of imagination. He's not from Manchester, so you put him back down amongst his fans, that he'd draw a bigger crowd down there, and we would have kept the show on the 24th in Manchester.
Do you know what? It's a good thing you say that. You're right. Didn't even look at it like. I think logistically, it sounds like that's perfect. That's how it should be. Obviously, maybe it's different. We don't run boxing shows, so probably we don't know. It sounds easy for us to say that, but you just made a point then about Moses not being a local lad, and I didn't want to sound like disrespectful to him in any way, because he is becoming a bit of a star in the boxing world, but that Magnificent Seven card is not sold on the basis of Moses Itauma being the headlining act, and that's no disrespect to Moses. It really isn't, because I'm guarantee a lot of the fans will have bought tickets because it's like, well, Moses is also, Moses is headlining it as well. But a lot of the tickets are your Nathan Heaney's, your Zach Mellors, the people that are selling 500, 600, 700 tickets to the friends and the families, their local fans. Obviously, thousands of people will be coming because it's Moses Itauma, and it's in Manchester, so a lot of the Manchester people go, wow, I'm going to be able to buy a ticket to watch a future world heavyweight champion. But you're right in the sense of, just because Moses is injured, that doesn't take away from all the hard work these are. And I understand the frustration. I agree with the frustration, because your people like your Nathan Heaney, it's his livelihood. And he sold his tickets, and unfortunately, it's not going to go ahead. And he's had to pay for a training camp, and he's going to have to go through it all again. I don't know how it works if they get reimbursed or whatever, but it's the same. Jerome Warburton, Zach Mellor, all these fighters have gone through a training camp, and it is very frustrating for them on the basis of just one fighter. And I'm sure, I don't know what that says about what they think about the actual Magnificent Seven card themselves. I don't know if I'm going on a bit of a conspiracy there or not, but I don't know. If I was the fighters on the card, I would be looking at it going, well, hang on a minute, what are we not a big enough draw for it to sort of kind of stay on? Because I think the crowd that were going to watch the fights would have been more local, as opposed to the people watching on the zone would have been, they're tuning in for Moses Itauma. They're not tuning in for the undercard, whereas the people going to the fight, to the Co-op Live, they were going for the undercards as well as Moses Itauma.
Yeah, maybe. I can see what you're saying. But in terms of your general boxing landscape, certainly without the influx of Turki Al-Sheikh's deep pockets, I'm still classing that, without Moses Itauma against Jermaine Franklin, which is a good solid heavyweight clash, a good step up for Moses Itauma. I'm still taking the other 6 fights as a solid domestic card compared to some of the other shows that have been on DAZN without the influx of Saudi cash. That's all I'm saying. But we'll leave it there, because we will look forward to that show at March 28th. It's not like it's been cancelled, it's just been postponed. But as you say, the fighters then still have to pay for another camp. We'll look forward briefly to this Saturday. We've got world title action on DAZN over in Las Vegas. Raymond Muratalla defending against Andy Cruz. Andy Cruz going for a world title in just his 7th pro contest. A standout amateur. He beat Keyshawn Davis multiple times in the amateur code. He's turned over with Matchroom. Eddie's been big on this guy from day one, and he looks to go in there and win a world title in his 7th fight, which is an amazing feat in itself. But he's going in with an undefeated Raymond Muratalla, who's got plans of his own at the 135 division. It's a really good fight for me, Jamie, and one that we can certainly say in terms of UK eyes is one for the boxing purists.
Yeah, you've got to, honestly, if you're a boxing purist, it's one that you have to tune into. It is going to be a clash of like 2 technicians, and obviously we know all about Andy Cruz, and I think do you know what? And this is a mad thing about both fighters. Obviously, this is going to be Andy Cruz's 7th fight, but Andy Cruz in his 6 fights, everyone he's fought has had a winning record, and the same with how do you say his name again? But Matella. With him, if you look at his record, also he's 23-0. 20 of his wins have all been against winning opponents as well. And one of them, the 3 that weren't, one of them was their debut, and I think it was only his 2nd fight. And that just shows how they both took the hard route to get to the top. Because, we'll see some fighters that got 23-0, 27-0, but quite padded as they're getting them into the professional ranks, and they're building them up over 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds, eventually 10, 12. And the level goes up. Whereas it looks like these 2 have just been fighting, people that could potentially beat them all the way up to the point where it's now they're both undefeated, they're both coming in. Someone's always got to go, and it's literally going to be, I think it's going to be action packed, and it's going to go the distance. But it's going to be one of them fights where it's exciting throughout the entire thing, and I think I'm leaning more towards Cruz, but you never know.
Yeah, it is a pick and fight. We look forward to that. Jamie, it's been another fascinating episode. It's been a bit different, like we say. Hopefully, Dan Atherton FC United of Manchester's #1 goalkeeper. Hopefully he brings some new eyes to the podcast. And if you are new watching the podcast, if you stuck with us to the end to listen to me and Jamie do our usual boxing spiel, then I appreciate you listening and consuming our content. Like I say, this is available on YouTube and on Spotify. As always, give us a subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment. Jamie, anything to add before we sign off?
No, I think it was it was definitely a bit different, but no, I enjoyed it. It was and hopefully more guests in the future.
Absolutely. He's been Jamie. I've been Luke. Guys, thanks for listening to the Let's Talk Boxing podcast. We'll see you next week.